Yeah. Hi, Priya, and welcome to our wholesome conversations. Um, like, thank you.
Hi, thank you
It's
so much, Pooja. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming. And we would really maybe I'll start with a short introduction, talking about you. For me, it was a amazing experience. The first time I met you in Bhumi College when you taught us about storytelling. I think the whole experience for me, the fact that you involved all the senses, the fact that you brought out, made us sing, you did a little dance, and that's become such a memory for me. It just doesn't go off. And that's the first time I even heard of storytelling as, like an art form, as an educational tool. And then I've been exploring it, reading about it. So maybe we could start with you telling us a little bit about Storypur. Like, why did you create it? How did that happen?
Okay, so hi, Pooja. Good evening, everyone who are watching this chat. So, how did Storypur happen? Frankly speaking, I'm one of those people who goes with the flow totally, and it was back then. It was around 8 years ago. I was working in a school, and I was pretty happy, and everything was fine. But I've always had this itch. I tend to get restless after a point of time. In fact, that restlessness actually helps me, facilitates my growth, my trajectory. And so it was 7 years in that place. And somehow I was feeling that, I was not personally doing enough as a facilitator. I needed to take something out and share it with people around me. In fact, I wasn't able to express it clearly. I'm not able to do it even now. So, but this restlessness continued, and I took one of the major risks at that point of time. This was 8 years ago, which means I was around 35 or so. I just quit. I was well settled. I quit that job, and I was just at home,
Mm-hmm.
mulling over things, kind of being with that restlessness of giving back to the place I come from, giving back to the society, even though it sounds very cliche, but I'm running short of words. That's how I have to put it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at home, and somehow I felt why we are not following the simple things which we learn when we are in school, that we should throw the garbage inside the bin, not around the bin. We should be aware of, we should stop using plastic, small things. Why are we not following this? Why are we not kind to each other? Why are we so rude when we go to the supermarket? Things like that were kind of, disturbing me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So in all that restlessness, I was finding an outlet, someone who kind of, we would match, wavelengths would match, and we could take this forward. And I worked for a newspaper at that point of time. And through them, I used to conduct classes in various schools in the city. Now, that was a huge turning point for me because my subject was environment and eco responsibilities, and I didn't have much time to prepare or read. And students would be anywhere, they could be primary, middle, or high school students. And invariably, my class would be part of the eco club. Now, eco club, you know how the mood would be, right? Classes are over. The last thing is eco club, and everybody is in a jolly good mood, waiting to go home. Just imagine an outsider steps into the classroom to give a lecture. Would anyone be interested? That was the biggest challenge for me. So I remember stepping into one of the schools. I think it was class 11 or 10, I don't know. Actually, I was pretty intimidated. I was pretty scared. How am I going to get these children to listen to me? And my subject was waste segregation. Waste segregation campaign was introduced at that time, the red and
Right.
the green mask, yeah, the bins and all that. So I was completely blank at that time, and I just saw their classroom's dustbin over there. Okay, and it was kind of okay. So immediately I picked up that dustbin. I held it like a child over here. I had a marker with me. I drew two eyes and a smile. I held it like that. That very gesture itself had everyone looking at me, noticing me, giving me weird, strange looks. In fact, the teachers who were walking in the corridor also stopped to see what was going to happen next. And then I started my narrative. I started to talk like the dustbin. I'm here
Hmm.
for a reason, but nobody even looks at me. Do you see the chips wrappers over there? Do you see the biscuit packets over there? Everything is around me. Nobody cares. So why should I bother? Something like that. I don't remember clearly. Now, that was such a, the first thing is, would anyone touch the dustbin? That was the thing. And second thing is the dustbin talking and how the dustbin feels at that point of time, being in the class, it got everyone's attention. And then
Hmm.
I brought the concept of, how we need to segregate. So once I had everyone's attention, it was easy. It was smooth flow.
Hmm.
So I had to just introduce facts and figures and then we engage in the conversation. And it was
Hmm.
such a beautiful thing that happened organically. So that gave me a big high. So I started following the same thing. I did a
Hmm.
copy paste in different schools in different class. And I
Right.
started improvising on that format. So slowly I started working more on that, and I grew more confident. So then I realized it was that character, it was more or less a story that got their
Right.
attention. The character connected with the children, the students. And as
Right.
a result, they accepted me. There was an emotional connect in the room. There was a beautiful energy flow. So that was a the turning point, I must say. Then I started working with stories, and I thought, why not use stories itself? And I
Correct.
conducted my first storytelling session. I needed a brand name for that, so I chose Storypur, and that's how it started. One place after the other, friends helped me. We did it in the terrace, and then a bookstore person who ran the bookstore. I very gratefully think about her. She said, "Why are you doing it in your terrace? Come and do it in my shop." Her shop was only so much, but
Hmm.
invariably, every Saturday we had a storytelling session. Sometimes two children will turn up, sometimes no
Hmm.
one will turn up. But always I had a different theme, I had a different concept. A lot of positive vibes from the shopkeeper, the people in the around in that
Hmm.
area. In fact, I'm in touch with some of the parents who brought their children at that time for my storytelling session. So it's one after the other. A lot of yeah. So that's how I created. Created is a big word. That's how
You started
storytelling.
Storipur. Yeah.
Yeah, I started Storypool, and the whole idea was Storypool would help me to reach out, convey what I think worked for me. Why don't you look at that? That's all. Not to
Right.
preach, not to say that this is the way to be. No,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
this worked for me.
Right.
Why don't you look at that through stories?
That's beautiful. And apart from having Storypur, I understand you're also the faculty of NIFT as a faculty for teaching storytelling. Is it? That's an
Um,
elective subject at NIFT.
yeah.
Right. So this is also something that's fairly new, isn't it? Or has this as an elective subject? Kind of. How
No,
is that experience?
that is also an equally interesting experience. I'm learning. Basically, I like to study. I've always been like this. So I got this opportunity when I did a basic storytelling workshop for the students, and then I moved on to do this a similar thing for pan India for all the faculty members. And then now I am with my third batch of students who have taken storytelling as a general elective subject. So basically, the experience you see is we look at what storytelling in general is, and of
Right.
course, with respect to voice, with respect to face, with respect to what kind of stories we can tell. And
Hmm.
then we look at brand storytelling, how to present our designs through storytelling. And then we explore a little bit of storytelling, stories about textiles, about motifs, about embroideries. So all those stories are beautiful. So it's a mixed bag of all these things. The module is.
Right. So that's storytelling in NIFT. Now, storytelling is a tool, is something that even educators can use, right, in the classroom. So, like you were talking about using the narrative of a dustbin.
Huh.
I'm assuming that can then get extrapolated to anything. Like, you could tell a story of a book, you could tell a story of a lake, you could, yeah, for water pollution, probably, right?
Yeah.
So, do you have any tool like that you think would be good for educators to use in their classrooms? Like, if a person wanted to use storytelling in the classroom but doesn't know how, what do you think would like, be the starting point? Or
Okay. So I believe it's more a personal opinion. Any art form, it starts from here. A soul connect, heart, you need to have the intention. Trust me, if you have it, you will be there somehow. It might take years, it might take just one period of class, but you will be there. So basically, if you want to convey something and you're an educator, you want to make it interesting, this you can make up your own story. Okay. The
hmm,
most common story plot or arc is once upon a time where everything was fine and then there came a problem and the problem was solved, resolution. So you can
right.
make up your own story. I've been doing that to explain about e-waste, electronic waste, electrical waste. I've been doing that to explain to my students about gift economy. So you can make up your own stories. That's one
Hmm,
thing. Otherwise, also, we have a treasure chest of stories. Okay, it could be
hmm,
Indian folklore, it could be contemporary literature, children's literature by Indian authors is amazing, very relatable topics.
hmm,
On domestic violence, you have stories, child-friendly manner, in a child-friend, appropriate manner. You have stories about gender prejudice. So everything is there. You just need to go and look up for that. So that's
yeah,
one thing. So yeah, and then just go ahead and tell the story. You need to start sometime, somewhere you need to start, and I'm sure by practice you will be there. And children also get used to that format. They know that when ma'am comes or sir comes, he starts with a story or he finishes with a story. So that is also etched in their minds. So
okay.
yeah.
And are the children also creating with you? Like when you tell the story, are they also part of the narrative?
Absolutely. Most of the times. Like I'll tell you what happened day before yesterday, thanks to
Hmm,
our online sessions. So we have a lot of limitations because it's online and it's no longer, I mean, it's not offline. So I
right.
had to explain reflection to,
Hmm,
because the story of the dog and the bone, the dog drops it
hmm,
into the bridge, which I mean,
right.
water below. So I was asking the children, when you look into the water, will you see yourself? Most of them said, yes, 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 yes. So then, what is that called as? Now, this is pre-primary. So I knew
Okay.
obviously they will not know the word reflection, most likely.
Hmm,
So they said it's water shadow. It's water shadow story, ma'am. They said. So then I said, okay, forget the word. That's not important. But anyway, I'll tell you. It's called as reflection. And they learned, they got the word. Okay.
okay.
So yeah, they somehow got the word. Then I said, if all of us were in the class, you know what I would have done? I had my big bucket over here. I lifted it
Uh-huh.
and I showed it to them. I would have brought this bucket full of water to the classroom. I would have kept it in the middle. We would have sat in a circle and we would have looked into the water to see our reflection, just like how the dog did standing on top of the bridge. Now what to do? I'm feeling sad. I can't do that with you. And they said, they are just pre-primary. Is there any other way we can still do this? They said, ma'am, we can do this in our homes. I said, wow, you are my friend. Thank you. So, yeah, most of the time it is interactive. Most of the time I keep it that way. In fact, I draw energy from my students, audience, listeners that helps me with the flow. And
Right.
with respect to interaction and engagement, I do more stories which are open ended, more
Mm-hmm.
so with the older children and adults, where I just leave it incomplete and I say, what do you think this is? Do you think this is okay? How do you think you would have felt? And we take
Okay.
it to different levels of discussions. So yeah.
Right. So that's That's really good. So, one of the things when someone talks about storytelling as an immediate benefit, what you think of is obviously you're expanding a child's imagination. Like
Okay.
when I was a kid, I think that was something we used to do. My brother used to make up these stories and then we would enact them out just for the fun of it. Yeah, it was fun. So, yeah, so imagination, obviously, but I'm sure there are other benefits also, right? That children get from listening to stories, from creating stories. Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's lots.
Okay.
So if you just Google what are the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
storytelling for children, you will find lots. But I would like to share from my personal point of view, from my experiences.
Hmm.
As you said, Pooja, very rightly, it helps, it enhances the child's creativity and imagination. Like so many things, like again, class one, grade one children,
Hmm.
I sometimes I ask them to get a dupatta along, and I say that now you are going to be the doctor, and all that you have is a dupatta. How will you show a doctor? They do a stethoscope, they do like this for lab coat with that dupatta. It doesn't matter if the dupatta is purple in color, green in color, nothing. The farmer, it
Hmm.
becomes a turban. I don't tell them, because they themselves know, and we look at each other. It's fun. Butterfly, bird, an eagle who's flying fast, a chick,
Hmm.
it just varies. So this is
Right.
one thing. In a story, all there's a scope for all these things,
Hmm.
right? Uh, Besides that, it is your culture. That's
Okay.
something which, yeah. Firstly, about our own culture. Like, for example, if I tell stories to my daughter every day, I'm passing on my childhood, what I
Hmm.
learned. Now,
Right.
anyone else can tell a story to your kid, but what you are going to be telling is completely your own, right?
Hmm.
How you celebrated Shankranti when you were a kid,
Hmm.
how you were feeling disappointed when your brother got a toy and you didn't get a toy. So all
Hmm.
these bring in an emotional bonding. So,
Right.
uh, yeah, and we all got it. Like, for example, I used to always sleep next to my grandmother, and she always had stories of, how she had to save money, and because it was a big family and we didn't have enough money, and she hid and kept the money, so that they can use it on times of, during times of
Hmm.
need. So I constantly listen to those stories, and I made a visual imagery. That image is only mine. She never told me, like, the house was like this, nothing. So it is a partnership, you see. What she's telling is only so much, but it's left up to me to make that image. So there is a lot of emotional bonding and involvement. So we should be telling stories more at home. That's one, to pass on about experiences, your own experiences, how things were. And second thing, there's more of emotional bonding that happens. That's
Hmm.
another benefit. You feel very connected. That's one. And you pass on your traditions, your culture, and not just that. When I tell an African folk tale, when I tell an Australian folk tale, it's a peep into their culture.
Hmm.
I don't know whether I'll be going to Australia or New Zealand, but when I listen to all that, it's so beautiful, and you see that we are all interconnected. You will see parallels. Oh, we too do something like that. It's not
Right.
some distant land and they are, away. So you get to know about other cultures. That's one thing. And there's a lot of scope for sharing certain things which you have kept really deep down inside. Like, for example, if a kid is not comfortable in the classroom, there's someone who's always taking his pencil or something like
Huh?
that.
Okay.
When you tell a story like that, any story which happens in a classroom, a similar setting,
Mm-hmm.
invariably there's so much of emotional connect that there's always a chance of the child relating his own personal experiences, how he felt when there's something like that happened. And then you can take the conversation forward. Like, once I had this experience of, someone telling me, a parent asking me, like, there was always someone in the classroom who was kind of irritating, bullying her child, what to do.
Okay.
I said, yeah, I said, just share your experience, how you were as a child and what you would have done in that scenario. Probably concocting a little bit also is fine. So she
Mhm.
said how she started telling no to the other person who took her pencil eraser sharpener at one point
Okay.
of time. When you say something like that, without actually saying, you're conveying the message that this person, my mother, has handled the issue in this manner. And right now she's sitting in front of me and she's telling the story. I
Hmm.
too will be able to manage. You're giving that hope.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's actually the list is endless. So, the other thing is storytelling, reading, language literacy go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So yeah, so you kind of develop that interest to read books. Of course, your
Right.
vocabulary improves, communication skills, because you start engaging. The storyteller or the parent or the teacher is engaging with the child, asking questions in between, including the child in the story. So when all these happens, you don't frame your sentence in your mind. You just start talking. That's a
Hmm.
great start to improve your communication skills, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that happens, and of course, memory. So you
Hmm.
remember, I have this habit of telling the first part of the story. Invariably, that happens. I'm not able to finish my story. So I say that
Okay.
now you need to remember the characters, the setting, where I'm leaving it, so that we can continue. Memory power
Hmm.
improves, and all these things, these extra things we
Right.
just.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you consciously pick up stories of Indian origins? Like, I remember growing up, there was a lot of Enid Blyton, and we would read a lot of, I don't know, Nancy Drew and stuff. Like, actually, I didn't have so much of Indian stories growing up, but I've
Okay.
seen a lot of, they're like really beautiful tales of Indian culture, and then a lot more relatable examples. So, is that a conscious choice?
No, actually speaking, there's lots of Indian stories, especially the new ones are fantastic. You're able to relate to the current scenario. In fact, there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pandemic literature, a lot of pandemic stories also. That makes it more. I'm able to connect directly.
Right.
So no, I love stories of all genres. Frankly speaking,
Okay.
but to make it more relatable to my audience, there's one thing which I do. I tweak the stories. I give them
Okay.
Indian names. The story is happening in Bangalore, something like that. Otherwise,
Hmm.
I love stories of different
Of all.
kinds.
Okay. So,
All
do
of
you
them.
have okay? Do you have like a favorite story or a favorite song or something of that sort that you would like to share with us now?
Okay. So again, I think I'm pretty complex over here, Pooja. The thing is, my favorite story also depends on my frame of mind at that point of time.
Okay. Ah.
Okay, so I really operate from my heart. So, and I don't know, that's helped me, but also there it's got its own flip side at times. So, yeah, so there's one story which I would love to share. So, this
Hmm.
story is a story from Rajasthan. So there was a tired traveler who had been walking miles and miles across the hot sands of Rajasthan. It was really hot. He kept adjusting his turban. That's when he thought aloud, how I wish I could see a tree. I could sit under its cool shade. How I wish, he told to himself. That's when something happened. And just shh. All of a sudden, a tree appeared out of nowhere. The traveler was pleased. He didn't think too much. He went and sat under the tree. Ah, how pleasant it is, he thought. He didn't stop over there. He didn't stop wishing. How I wish I had some water to drink. It's been really hot, he said to himself. Once again, a steel tumbler and a metal jug fell from the tree. Tong! The traveler poured some water into a tumbler and quenched his thirst. Glug, 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 glug. How I wish now there was a bed for me to sleep on, he muttered. Shh! A bed appeared, soft, cushiony, bouncy one. He hopped onto the bed and he stretched his tired body. And once again, he made a wish. How I wish there would be someone to press my tired feet, massage my feet. And there appeared someone just to press his tired feet. The traveler soon fell asleep. All his wishes were coming true. Okay. Suddenly he woke up. What if the person who was in front of me, the person who was pressing my feet, is actually a monster? And he said that loudly. And wishes come true, right? The person immediately turned into a monster. Glowing horns, yellow eyes, green teeth, and the traveler said, "So, are you the monster? I think you're the monster." There, and the monster nodded. "Are you going to eat me? I think you're going to eat me." The monster nodded. "I think you're going to chase me once I start running, right?" That's it. He started to run, and the monster started chasing him. He ran as fast as he could, but it was so difficult for him to run on the hot sand. As he was running, holding his bag, adjusting his turban once again, he thought for himself, what if all this was some magic in this part of this desert? What if the monster was not actually true? Huh? How I wish the monster disappeared. Saying this, he turned back to see. And what do you think? There was no monster at all. Okay. Now he started walking a little slowly, the sigh of relief. But he learned something that day. Wishes can come true. And I too learned a good lesson that day. So, my dear friends, next time when you wish, think twice because your thoughts can come true. Thank you.
Wow, that's so good, Priya. I love that so much. And I love how you use your drums, and that's such a cool addition to the whole story. It just brings this whole nuance to it. That's amazing. Have you
Thank
always
you.
been doing that? Using
Music I've been using. I'm not a singer. How I wish I was. In the sense, I do sing. I have no issues about singing, and I sing loudly. But how I wish I knew the nuances of music and that kind of a thing. Movement is something I'm really fascinated about. I love to use my hands and legs. My body is my tool, and this is something which I tell my students or listeners also. You need to be absolutely comfortable with your body, accept yourself the way you are when you go and stand on stage or when you're performing and you're telling. So for me, moving around has been the biggest thing, but because it is online, so I am inside a box and I see everyone inside a box. So that's when I started reinventing my storytelling and what I've been doing. I've started using a little bit of drums, movements, and yes, a little bit of props in the background. I make things, I paint my hands. So I do all that. Basically, whatever I enjoy. See, that's the bottom line. Okay, I might sound a little self-absorbed also in this. Basically, you should enjoy. That joy should be there on your face.
right.
Then it is equally contagious. You have people by your side, is my humble opinion.
Right. That's true. I think you can see the joy on your face when you tell the story, right? You can actually I can totally imagine the desert. I can totally imagine this parched person on the desert. So I
I
think
wasn't ready for that. I actually fumbled quite a bit. I was
I think it was amazing. So you also use, like, tying dupatta as a turban, and then
Yeah.
you have all these colorful dupattas with you. So do you choose that for this story, this prop will be good, for this story, drums will be better, or is there any
Yeah.
process?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of choose. I basically go by my, gut feel. Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't buy things. So I like to use things, in my house around and reuse. Yeah, and also that gives. And see, for example, a dupatta. It's so simple. Everyone has a dupatta, a piece of cloth. So with
Hmm.
dupatta, I have a whole range of songs which I've written with rhythms. So
Right.
everyone is happy wearing their dupattas. I'm talking about children here, the small ones. So that's
Right.
not easy to get. Even if I've forgotten to tell them in the previous class, please keep your dupattas ready beside you. That's fine. I can just tell them, go get your dupatta or your towel or your hanky or anything, they have it. It's
Hmm.
such a simple thing which brings so much of joy. So I basically use things like that, which are easily available, readily available. Okay, I do one
Around.
spoon song also. So spoons again we have it. So it's
Yeah.
fun, Yeah, making rhythms with spoons and all that. So like that.
And is the experience different with adult participants and children participants? Do you find a difference in the energy?
Energy, I wouldn't say, but the way I present my story will be very different. In fact, it varies from one group to another group. Like, for example, what I do for a certain group, I might not do it for another group. I go by the pulse of the listeners, right? Because
Hmm.
really believe that everyone is different. So you must be knowing about MI and all of that, right? So
Hmm.
for an because of my experience or something, to an extent, I know this group will enjoy songs because
Hmm.
I try a rhythm, it works out, then I introduce a couple more of a few more rhythms.
Hmm.
When I
Right.
find out that the first rhythm itself they are not okay, then I just skip it. I use more of props there.
Hmm.
There will be other groups who are more the what do you call it?
Kinesthetic,
Yeah, no, the language
linguistic.
linguist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I use a play of words over there. I focus on the description part, the all
Hmm.
of that. And for adults, I choose my stories accordingly.
Okay.
Sometimes certain stories are applicable. The way you tell is different, but
Hmm.
the topics I include or all that varies according to age groups, group wise, I would say. So for
Okay.
my high school or middle school students, or even the college goers, it's
Hmm.
always open ended because I want them to talk at the end of the story. I want them to discuss. There are a lot of things which we don't talk about at all. So I use my storytelling as an opportunity to breach into those topics, areas which are, hush hush types.
Oh, okay. With children, it's do you try and then have a value or a message that you can um, get into the story? Like here, wishes can come true, so you should think about what you wish for.
Intentionally, I don't pick up such stories. If you would ask me, say, if I'm going to be working with a class for an entire year, it will be a mixed bag. Okay. But
Hmm.
even when I have a story which has a value or a message in it, I make sure that I don't openly, blatantly tell that this is the message and you are supposed to be following it. I just leave
Right.
it at that. And I think if you were the traveler,
Hmm.
what is it that you would have learned, or what is it that you will keep in mind for next time? So it will be more
Hmm.
like that, and there will be a multitude of answers. So I
Okay.
would kind of work around that thing.
Right. Uh, so, okay, imagine that, say, if me, or imagine if a parent wants to use storytelling for their children to create that sort of experience. But say I don't have that sort of skills, your voice modulation, so what could I do? What would be my tips to, be a better storyteller?
Okay, if you're a parent, I would say make it a point to have a storytelling time before going to bed. Half an hour, 15 minutes. First thing, start with that. Secondly, it could just go with the flow. Just bond with your child. It could be anything. Talk about how your day was in the office and things like that. And third is pick up a storybook. It could be any storybook. Children love animal stories. Or build up on that forest context, So you can say the forest was once upon a time, there was a forest, big forest. Ask your child how big it was it. So they will show like this, like this, like that. Okay. So then, and the trees were all tall over there. How tall were the trees? So basically engage them. You can make up your own story. So there was one animal like this. So you need not be, and I'm not an expert in voice modulation. Even now, I can't do the snoring sound. Invariably, there's a sleeping scene which will come in most of the stories, and I don't pick up that sound at all, and I very smartly tell, now you tell me how will the snoring sound, how did the, I don't know, mouse or the lion snore, and they are in full enthu, they will make the sound. That way I kind of escape from that thing. So you need not do the voice model. Whatever you can try and do. You enjoy, you do it. Otherwise, just tell the story. Describe the story. Use your hands. Use whatever is there at home. You have some toys. Just show the toys and tell. I think somewhere where if you start, you will just find your own way out. That's it. The children will be play. I mean, help you out is what I'm telling.
Yeah, right. So you were talking about using MI. So do you think this can also be used as a tool by teachers to, take care of different kind of learners in the classroom? Like usually it happens that in your classroom you have one linguistic and one kinesthetic, someone else who is something else. So can storytelling also help like that?
Yeah, definitely. As an educator, you get a feel that you have different kinds of learners. Let's take a story, for example. In a story, how will you engage the musically inclined students or children? By a simple rhythm, like what I did was 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. That's it. So
Right.
you can use a rhythm on your desk, or you ask them to clap like this. So
Hmm.
that you involve the musically inclined. You can introduce a song, any song inside the story. If the story is about a rainbow, introduce a two-line rainbow song. There's plenty. Okay, so you can do that. So the musically inclined learners are engaged. Then we move on to the visually. That's the word, right? I
Visual
don't.
spatial learner, right? Correct.
Yeah. So you can use props, you can use colors. You can say the elephant was not gray in color, but he had many colors on his body. Okay, now let me stop the story over here. Can someone tell me if there's anything that is gray in color in our classroom? That's it. So they will go around looking. In fact, the kinesthetic or the bodily kinesthetic or people who like to run around, they will also
Run
go
around.
around looking for yeah, they get the gray
Correct.
color thing and get it. You can have a color game in between your story. So you can
Hmm.
use props. Using props is once again catering to the visually inclined students.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
yeah, so language is what you say, they listen, they are inclined, the words you use, and all of that. And so, what I'm trying to say is, you can incorporate, just be creative, you can
Different
incorporate.
elements. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. We have math stories for the math
Oh,
inclined. Every
okay.
problem, the word problem, Pooja, which oh my, I used to hate it. The word problems, he
Right.
had two mangoes. When you're going to work on a word problem, you're entering the classroom. Tell that as a story. Once upon a time, not even once upon a time. Before coming to school, I'm just thinking aloud, okay, Pooja? So just before coming to school, I went to the market and I had to buy 6 mangoes, okay? And instead, I bought 10 mangoes. So, how many mangoes do you think I should keep it in my fridge? And how many mangoes do you think I will not need? I should give it to my neighbor. Something like
Hmm.
that. I'm just
Something like
so
that too. Right.
something like that. You just elaborate on that or something. So that's a math
Hmm.
problem. Once you have done this, the other problems can be you needn't spend more time, descriptively. The other problems you can just go on, but you start with something which is so elaborate. So
Right.
math, yeah, and Sorry, what was the question? Am I, you said, right?
I was saying, am I using storytelling? The way
Ah,
probably you could have one element in each story,
that's,
right, to involve each learner. That
yeah.
sounds like. So storytelling as a tool, do you think that's something that might happen now? It seems to be coming more and more in the front. Like I'm seeing a lot more storytellers now. I'm seeing a lot more NGOs workshops around storytelling. So do you think
Hmm.
that's something that's going to now enter formal
Uh,
classrooms also?
See, actually speaking, storytelling has always been there. The thing is, yeah, I got your question. We forgot about it for a while. And then for the past, say, 5 or 6 years, you can say there's a renaissance of storytelling. Storytelling is my livelihood. So that itself proves a point, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So currently what I'm doing is, besides performances which are not happening much because of the thanks to the pandemic, besides that I am associated with a school where I do storytelling for the classes, and with a college which is looking at how to effectively use storytelling in their presentation of their designs, their products, whatever.
Mm,
So many people are open-handedly, they are welcoming storytelling. They are seeing storytelling as a very effective tool to be used in various fields, various sectors. So yes, storytelling is a powerful tool, and we forgot about it because I too, frankly speaking, when my kid was very small, I don't remember every on a daily basis telling stories. Probably now and then, once in a while.
mm,
Now she's all grown up. Yeah. So yeah, but that doesn't mean you can stop telling stories. Yeah. But at that time, I miss those days. I feel that I should
mm,
have told more stories to her. So there is a comeback. People are
There is.
realizing its importance, its significance. Yeah. Yes,
Correct.
it.
Right. I am really, really hoping for that. I mean, I'm such a big fan of storytelling, to listening to stories. Like, I listen to, there's something called as Yado Ke Idiot Box. I don't know whether you've heard of that. Nilesh Mishra.
Mm,
I'm like such a big
mm.
fan. I just go to sleep listening to his stories every night. He just talks and I listen
Oh,
to it and fall asleep. I mean, I think
okay.
storytelling, and I'm so glad it's coming back. And yeah, thank you for bringing it to me, bringing it back into my life again.
My
So,
pleasure.
yeah, with that, Priya, I think I'd really like to thank you for coming for this conversation, and more power to you and more power to your stories. So,
Thank you,
thank
Pooja.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Pooja, and all the best to all your efforts, to your organization. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much to everyone who were listening to me. I just shared I was telling Pooja also, I am just going to talk from my heart, and that's exactly what I did. I hope
Yeah,
you found it useful. That's it. Thank you
thank,
so much. All the very best to all of you. Yeah.
thank you so
And
much.
yeah, just one thing, if you would like to see my videos, I do have a YouTube. And once again, the lockdown has brought a lot of learning, unlearning, and relearning that has happened to all of us. One thing in my case is, I started uploading videos because there were children at home and I got a lot of requests. So do take a look when you find time. It's called as Priya Muthukumar Storipur.
Definitely. I'm very sure everyone's going to do that. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Priya. And
Thank
see
you,
you
Priya.
soon. Yeah,
See you soon.
take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.